I have to sneeze. Bless me. Oh, can you bring me a seltzer? I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Now I'm your LD, I'm your director, I'm your producer, and now I'm your PA.
Teeny. I just get really thirsty when I'm filming. Oh. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Rachel and this is Shipwrecked Library, my booktube where I talk about books and not much else. You can find my social medias linked down below. I'm also going to add in my Amazon wishlist because I had a couple friends ask me to. Full disclaimer, you do not ever have to buy me anything or feel obligated to buy me anything. I don't think that my boyfriend wants me to get any more books, so there's that. But I just wanted to note that it is in there and I don't want anyone to feel like they have to purchase anything. So I don't feel like making a really long introduction. This video is basically just going to be my November wrap up and my December TBR. Every single person's video that I watched talking about November was pretty much like, November sucked. And I really agree with that. Which is funny because if you go back to my October video, my October wrap up, I'm like, I only read 7 books. I think November is gonna be a better month though. Oh, naive little October Rachel. So I only read 5 books in November. I'm not really mad about it just because November, like I said, really sucked, but I did what I did. And I had some really great reads too, actually. One of them was probably like I feel so accomplished having read that book. So let's just get into the first book that I read in the month of November, and that was Catherine House by Elizabeth Thomas. I listened to this on audiobook, and this is a book following a young woman named Inez, and she is going to this elusive college substitute called Catherine House. Basically, you go to Catherine House in lieu of going to an actual college where you stay in Catherine House for 3 years. And the rules of this estate are that you're not allowed to contact anyone outside of Catherine House. You're not allowed to bring in any of your personal belongings into Catherine House. Your entire life is Catherine House. You belong to the Catherine House, nothing else. And the premise of this book sounded really, really interesting, especially since it's compared to both Bunny by Mona Awad and The Secret History. And I love both of those books. I recently read Bunny prior to this and gave it 5 out of 5 stars. It's a favorite of mine now. I can't wait to reread it. So I was really interested going into Catherine House, but I hated this book. I gave it 2 stars. So I don't think it is necessarily a bad book, but it was not a book that I enjoyed whatsoever. I actually listened to the very ending of this book on 3 times speed, which is something I have never done with any audiobook ever because I don't like the idea of potentially missing any information. But I was listening to this at work on 3 times speed because I was just like, I just need to get this over with, and the only things at this point that I care about are going to be things that I can't miss, like dialogue and stuff. The reason that I don't think this is anything like The Secret History is that The Secret History was very, very atmospheric and very focused on setting, and the Catherine House kind of promises to do that, but it never does. It never delivers on that atmospheric like setting. It felt like the only thing that this book ever really accurately described or continued to describe was the fancy meals that they were always eating. They were always eating like fish tartare and biscuits and tea and drinking wine. And I just cannot describe to you how many times they were eating on page like nonstop, just kept describing every single meal these people were eating, and I was so sick of it. And I don't think it's like Bunny either, because while Catherine House does definitely have this element of surrealism to it, it does not go nearly in depth or as deep as Bunny does, and it's kind of like on the fringes. Catherine House is definitely set in this almost alternate reality, obviously, because I don't think a Catherine House would actually exist. I just don't think that people would fly with that. It kind of just feels like I was really just reading about a girl who was skipping class constantly and going on little adventures all the time and just laying in the grass, drinking wine, talking to her friends, etc. It was really boring. That's where it really fell apart for me. This book and books like The Starless Sea, etc., anytime I say that I don't like them, people always come back with, oh, it's okay if you didn't understand it. You know, I get that it's kind of confusing, and to that I say no. I understood this book perfectly. I knew what was going on. At no point did I feel like I didn't know what was happening or what the main character was doing. Like I thoroughly understood everything. It was just boring. It just felt like the book didn't have any substance. It just felt like this series of sequences of day-to-day life from the character. It was just a fever dream slice of life. The one thing I will say about Catherine House that does so much better than a book like The Secret History, for example, is that Catherine House was very diverse. There's multiple characters of color. I don't think there was a single character that was straight, and Nez herself is bisexual and is on page stating herself to be bisexual and having relationships with both men and women. And I think that was brilliant and perfect. And Elizabeth Thomas, I believe, is a Black author too. This was her debut novel. I don't think her writing was bad. I do think that I enjoyed her prose, so I think that I will look out for more books by her, but I'm hoping she tries a different genre for another book because I think I might enjoy that more. And then the next book that I picked up was Radio Silence by Alice Oseman, and I'm so glad that I did because November was a dumpster fire, but this book made it a little bit easier to handle. I have an entire vlog that I filmed while reading this, so I will link that down below, but if you're interested in hearing my thoughts, basically I think this book is wonderful. I think it has a powerful and important message, and I really, really, really love the characters and Alice Oseman's writing style. It's really funny actually because when I was reading this, I had to take like a very brief break to read something else. I wanted to finish another book that I'm going to be talking about really badly, so I was focusing on that, and my boyfriend came home and he was like, I haven't seen you reading Radio Silence in a couple days, are you okay? And I thought that was really cute. It's a really good book. I really, really recommend it. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and I'm not picky with my 5 out of 5 stars if I'm being honest with you. If I loved a book and I think that it is impactful and an important book, I will give it 5 out of 5 stars without worrying at all. Pick it up. So the next book that I read was The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. This book single-handedly saved November for me. As much as I loved Radio Silence, this is the true winner of November because the sheer amount of accomplishment and happiness that I felt upon finishing this book was unparalleled. And also I loved it. This is the first book in a 14-book series. I don't know if I can really nail down a plot synopsis for this. I went into this completely blind. I didn't know anything about it. Zero things. Nothing. I basically just knew that it's one of the most popular fantasy series of all time and was like, I want to read that. Also, isn't this guy kind of cute? But a very like rough sketch of what this book is about is basically these 3 boys, village is attacked, and then someone comes and is like, the reason this village was attacked is because of you guys, and I'm gonna take you away so that your village can be safe, and we're gonna figure this out. Like I said, that's a very, very rough sketch. But I do kind of think that if you go into a book like this not really knowing much, you'll be pleasantly surprised. I do want to do a full book review of this, like an entire video dedicated to reviewing it, because I loved it and I had a whole bunch of thoughts. As you can see, I have like tabs in here and stuff talking about it to myself. But I don't have the brain power to film that right now. I'm going to get to it. I have to because I loved it. So I don't want to talk about it too much in this. Just that Robert Jordan, fantastic writing style, really great world building, and it's a series that I've strongly invested myself into already. You know how people are prone to talking about book slumps and talking about how where they don't feel like picking up physical books and they only focus on audiobooks? I'm the exact opposite right now, and I can't seem to enjoy audiobooks anymore for some reason. So in order to kind of get myself out of that slump, I picked up a very short audiobook, and that was Follow Me to Ground by Sue Rainsford. And I very much enjoyed this one. I still don't know how I feel about listening to audiobooks right now. It's very hard for me to just find the motivation to listen to them for some reason. Maybe I'm not doing enough chores, I don't know. Or other things that I can multitask and listen to an audiobook for. So it follows this young girl and her father, and they live in a town where together they act as like sort of this healing duo, and the townspeople can come to them for their illnesses or injuries and stuff like that, and they will heal them. And their way of healing is very visceral and body horror. Like they literally cut people open or open them up, not with scalpels or anything. It's just the way Sue Ransford describes it, they literally are just like, and then I opened her up and I took her lungs out. It's great. And it basically just follows the young woman Ada as she comes to her own. The thing that I enjoyed the most about this book was Sue Ransford's writing. She uses adjectives like someone is wielding an actual knife. She did a fantastic job of describing this book in the most disgusting ways possible. Like every time I was reading about them performing their healing on the townspeople, I just felt so disgusted. It just brought out such a strong emotion. She uses words like moist and milky and just really gross words. And I think that she has such a like masterful craft over her writing style that was what I really, really loved about this book. I think that listening to it was great too, just because it was like really listening to this gross little story. The only thing that I didn't particularly like about the book was it's short, so I didn't feel particularly connected to either of the characters in it, either Ada or her father. Even though we're reading from Ada's point of view, it was more like I was just along for the ride and I didn't necessarily care either way about what happened within the story. I still gave it 4 out of 5 stars because the descriptions in it was just phenomenally written. Like, it was so good. But I think I would really like to read a full-length novel from this author and see if she can sort of fix that character issue. And I do want to mention trigger warnings for that book because I wasn't aware going into it, but it does contain incest. And the last book that I managed to squeeze in November, I read in the very last 2 days. So I was cutting it close, and that's City of Bones by Cassandra Clare. Listen. November was turning out to be just a really bad month for me, and I wanted to sit down and read something that was just gonna be lighthearted and fun and didn't require much brain power. No offense to Shadowhunter fans or anything. I think everyone from that fan base can all agree that this isn't exactly a masterpiece of a book, but it was really fun and I really, really enjoyed it. For those of you who don't know what Shadowhunters is, I kind of doubt it. It follows Clary Frey, and one night she witnesses 2 demon hunters, shadow hunters, kill a demon, and she somehow gets sucked into the world directly after that her mom is kidnapped or goes missing. This book is from 2007, so it does have issues. It's very problematic in the sense that Clary is super not like other girls. She hates the other female character because she's pretty and she's hitting on her best friend. And it takes the entire book for either one of those 2 female characters to be like, yeah, I like you, we're friends now. And the plot structure of this novel is absolutely wild. It is not good whatsoever. Things just sort of happen and there's no like actual structure to it. It's just like they go here and then something happens, and then they go there and then something happens, and then they go over there and then something happens, etc. It was so strange, but I liked it. I'm not gonna lie, it was a lot of fun. I definitely see myself continuing on with the Shadowhunters series. I think in 2021, I'm going to try and read the entire Wheel of Time series and then also the Shadowhunter Chronicles. Why? Because this is thought-provoking and deep, and you know, the writing is really smart and I like it. And this, I'm just gonna have fun. So that wraps up everything that I read in the month of November, and now I'm going to get into the books that I'm going to read in December, because this is my first time ever making a TBR. Usually I'm a mood reader, but I actually wanted to kind of like set out a reading plan. I figured that my last couple of months of reading have just been so chaotic and bad, why not just sit down and be like, here, Rachel, this is what you're gonna read. Enjoy it. Because maybe I do need that structure in my life. I don't know. So I'm kind of late to filming this. It's actually December 6th, and I've already finished a book, which is Vampire Academy. This isn't a wrap up, so I'm not gonna talk about how I feel about it, but I put this on my TBR and I finished it in like 3 days. I read this because I am participating in the Vampire Academy read-along that is hosted by all of these wonderful people. And Jess, my friend Jess, she is doing a live show for the first book on her channel on December 12th. You should tune in. If you haven't read the book, you can still come. You can hang out with us. Now, the next 3 books I'm currently in the middle of. Rage of Dragons is a African-inspired fantasy novel following a young man named Tao who is on his military career, and it involves dragons. That's basically all I really know. I am 166 pages in. So far, I'm loving it. I actually really, really enjoy Evan Winter's writing style. It's really good. I'm reading this for Riddhima's Discord. It is our monthly group pick book, I guess you could say. If you want to, you can join that Discord and you get to read along with us for our next book that we're going to be reading in January. I think that would be cool. I I also started The Great Hunt by Robert Jordan. Like I said, I'm trying to read all of the Wheel of Time books before the end of 2021 because I want to be a Wheel of Time person. I want to be a Wheel of Time blogger, vlogger, book person. So I'm reading it. So far, really good. I really have only read the prologue, I'm not gonna lie, but I really enjoy it. Yeah, you're gonna see a Wheel of Time on pretty much every single one of my TBRs for the rest of until I finish it. The next book that I started is an ebook and it's called Seasons of Abaddon. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And this was a book that is written by my friend Chris and his wife. So full disclosure, I do know the author of this book, but I am gonna give it a honest review as unbiased as possible. So I'm about 10% in and I'm already really enjoying it, honestly. Like I said, Chris is my friend, but take my word for it. I'm going to say my real thoughts on it. It has a really short description on Goodreads, so I'm just gonna read you that. And it says, 4 seasons, 4 stories. An aspiring enchantress searching for a way to lift a terrible curse. A drunken father makes a dangerous wish. A foreman tilting the balance between nature and progress. A mother traveling with her dying child in search of a healer. 4 paths merge, 4 destinies intertwine. And you can actually get it on Kindle for $2.99. Or you can get the paperback for $9.99, I think. I'm going to try and commit myself to reading Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte in December. Why? Because I need to start reading classics again. I don't need to, listen to me, come in close. Let's have a discussion. You don't have to read classics in order to be a quote unquote reader, but I like classics. One of my favorite books is Moby Dick. Self-drag because Moby Dick sucks. It's so boring, but I love it. But I used to read classics all the time and I really enjoyed reading them too. Pride and Prejudice is one of my favorite books as well and I read it earlier last year, but I haven't picked up any classics since then. So I am going to challenge myself in 2021 and I'm starting early with December to read a classic every month, if I can, to give it a good shot. And I'm gonna start with Wuthering Heights because my mommy bought me this. I think everyone knows what Wuthering Heights is about. It's, you know, it's a dark, terrible read. I'm very interested, however, to see how I feel about this book now as a almost 30-year-old, because when I was 16, I was like, oh my God, this is so romantic. This is Bella Swan's favorite book and I love it. So drag me. So I already bought the second book in the Shadowhunters Chronicles, so I'm gonna try and read that too, City of Ashes. I really like the paperback versions of these. Everyone has those really fancy hardcovers, but I don't know. The next 2 books I've talked about pretty thoroughly on my channel already and how badly I want to read them, but I've never given them plot synopsis. Black Sun is a pre-Columbian story following 3 different characters whose destinies are going to merge and align and converge and all that good stuff during a solar eclipse. I've heard nothing but great stuff about this book already. Like everyone who's read it really enjoys it and are like, oh no, I need the second one like right now. And I haven't even read the first one. So I really want to get to this one. I think the reason that I'm kind of putting it off, if I'm being completely honest with you, is that I have accidentally put it on a pedestal inside my head. So I'm nervous because I don't want to not like it because I've put so much emphasis on probably liking it. That's why you don't do that, folks. That's why you don't say, this book's gonna be amazing and I'm gonna love it. Because what if you don't freaking like it? I also don't think that I've shown off these beautiful end pages enough. And then I want to read These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. People are losing their minds over it. It is a Romeo and Juliet retelling set in Shanghai in the 1920s. You heard that right. A Romeo and Juliet retelling in Shanghai in the 1920s. Fuck, that sounds so good. I am so excited to get to this. I think I'm gonna just, if I like it, it's gonna take Ninth House's place and I'm gonna like display it with the naked hardcover. I follow Chloe, like we're friends. I follow Chloe Gong on Twitter and she seems like a fantastic person. She's basically leading the writer life that I wish that I could lead because she like makes fan fiction and stuff and TikToks of her own characters. Is it fan fiction if it's of your own characters? You know what I mean. She's very cool. She interacts with fans. She's a really nice lady. She's a nice lady. But I'm excited to get to this one too because I need kind of just like a book where I'm gonna be immediately invested in like the love interest and it's gonna be angsty because it's Romeo and Juliet. I'm reading a Romeo and Juliet retelling. I know how Romeo and Juliet ends. Is this gonna be any different? It's gonna be a series, so I know they're not gonna die, right? They're not gonna die, right? That was my October No, not October. That was my November wrap up and my December TBR. I think for future videos, I might try and split these up if I continue doing TBRs. I don't know. We'll see how this works because like I said, I've never given myself a set book list of books that I have to read, but I figured I would keep track of things like Riddhima's Discord reads and my Wheel of Time reads and stuff like that. So it seemed nice to do. How was your November? Was it better than mine? Because mine wasn't that great. Thank you as always for stopping by and watching this video. If you would like to, all of my social medias are linked down below where you can find my Twitter, my Goodreads, and my Instagram, and you can also subscribe, hit like, and comment. All right, that's it. That's the end of the video, guys. Thank you for my hair. Thank you for stopping by.